delay, I would like to introduce Dr. Francisco Betti from the World Economic Forum. Francisco, you are here on the panel. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you excellently. Perfect.
Beautiful.
Thank you so
Great.
much, Francisco, for being here. Could you try to share your screen while
Let's
I
try
say,
that.
I mean, the World Economic Forum is a reference point for the economy, for governments, and especially in these exceptional times of the crisis, I think many people are just looking at the World Economic Forum and asking for answers, asking for perspective. So Francisco, how are you assessing the current situation and what is your guidance to us? It's great to have you on the panel and we're looking forward to your talk.
Dominic, thank you very much to you and David for hosting us today, and a very good morning to all our colleagues. Good morning or good evening. I see there are a few folks joining us from different parts of the world, which is amazing. Dominic, you started your introduction by saying, can technology help navigate this crisis? And I believe the answer is absolutely yes. It has helped since the very beginning, and it's helping more and more as, for example, here in Switzerland, we navigate the second wave. Let me share a few thoughts. I think that we have been talking about a perfect storm being formed in the horizon for a very long time, right? So if you look at the pre-COVID scenario and you look at how the fourth industrial revolution was accelerated, what is possible today across manufacturing and supply systems, and you look and you combine that with what was happening on the let's say global economy front with trade wars and geopolitical tensions, and if you add to that, you know, all the pressure we are getting from climate and the imperative for sustainability, there was already, let's say, a messy landscape that was having an influence and already pushing companies to think for and about new approaches on how to design their manufacturing and supply systems. Now, what COVID came, it brought up that perfect storm to life, right? We can say that now we are in the middle of that storm. That storm is disrupting manufacturing, supply systems, global value chains in an unprecedented way. And if we look at some facts that we gather over the past months, first of all, and this mainly in conversations with chief operating, chief supply chain officers, we ran a consultation with over 400 of them. 82% acknowledged that there were major disruptions across their manufacturers, their facilities and supply systems, both coming from the demand and the supply side. So that's unprecedented. We haven't seen too many crises in the past in which the disruptions came at the same time, both from the demand and the supply side. So that forces us already to think about the future and the world in which we are operating in new ways. Now, some key observations that emerge from these conversations is that almost every global manufacturing company is thinking about how to redesign its own supply networks for resilience and sustainability. Let's say the current state of supply networks design was and is perceived as one of the major causes of why companies were not always able to successfully respond to the disruptions they faced brought by the pandemic. There's also evidence and a common belief that advanced manufacturing technologies, digital technologies, Industry 4.0 was a major driver of resilience for those companies, factories who were able to successfully get out of the crisis as soon as possible and minimize the disruptions created. And also, we are seeing a bigger sense of collaboration emerging. And what has been pretty unique, so if you look at what happened in the very first months of the crisis, we even saw competitors coming together to start assembling ventilators, to start building a supply chain for nasal swabs to be able to be 3D printed, packaged in a sterile way and delivered all the way to hospital and other points of need. So we saw that this crisis kind of united the global manufacturing community in a certain way, which is fascinating. Now, the hope is that as we move out of this crisis, those levels of collaborations between companies and with governments will hopefully continue and stay as high as they are right now, because I believe they are extremely beneficial for everyone. Now, if we look at how we can best shape a path towards recovery, there are some changes, or there are some let's say new capabilities that every company, in collaboration with their ecosystems and governments, will most likely need to develop. And of course, world-leading companies are already ahead of the curve and are heavily investing on this, but we will need to think about how do we support small and medium-sized enterprises in this broader journey. Let me just walk you quickly through these that we can call main 6 capabilities or dimensions that companies will need to focus on. The first one, as I said, is the current shape of supply chains was perceived and was one of the main reasons of why we are not able to respond. We are clearly going to see going forward major reconfigurations. Now, it's not going to happen across all industries, and it's going to be different industry by industry, but we're going to see companies trying to diversify their supplier base, to develop a distributed network of suppliers so that they can serve their different locations in multiple countries in best way, and also trying to reduce geographic dependence when that was concentrated on one major location. We also are seeing that remote working is going to stay for a long time. As Dominic, you said that right before. We are in the middle of the second wave here in Switzerland. We don't know how long it will last. New approaches to remote working will stay here for a long run. Of course, it's not always easy when it comes to managing a physical facility, a factory or a factory lab, but there are innovative ways and new technologies that can play the major role for that to happen. You also alluded to this before, Dominic, but the way in which we are interacting with our consumers is radically changing. Companies will need to adapt. You name e-commerce. I think that e-commerce it's becoming more than a reality across multiple industry sectors, and companies will need to leverage their investments in technology to have enough agility and flexibility to be able to adapt to the new needs that customers will be putting on the table, whether it's for customized products, for products to be purchased online and delivered on time, and be faster to market as well. And then finally, if we look at the right side of the screen, one of the other major challenges during the crisis was that no one really knew what were the levels of stocks, how disruptors were their suppliers of the suppliers. So there's a huge need for increasing visibility and transparency across supply chains and supply networks. Now, what we know, once again, is that when you look at traceability technologies that today can be fully secured through blockchain or other solutions, we can be more transparent. We can create more visibility across supply systems. And that's something that companies will be fighting for more and more. And I think that if you are a B2B, if you are a supplier, you will have no choice other than follow the trends that the OEMs that you are serving will be defined it. And then let me say that in addition to that need of reshuffle the way in which suppliers work with their customers, we are going to see risk mitigation plans not only built at a company level, but built at an ecosystem level. And that's why the last point, which is about true collaboration, is becoming more and more critical. And as I said, for the very first time, we are seeing a significant increased level of collaboration, not just across players in one supply chain or system, but also across traditional competitors to back up each other whenever that's feasible or needed, or to develop new customer experiences and go out to market with new solutions. Now, conscious of the time, let me maybe share a quick update. And I remember that I shared with some of you this in the past, but we have what we call the Global Lighthouse Network, which is a network of some of the most advanced manufacturing facilities and value chains from all around the world. These are all companies who have already seen the positive and significant operational and financial impact of digital transformation, of the digital transformation of production processes and value chain. There are 54 of these facilities in the networks, and what is amazing is that when you look at what they are achieving, they are really setting the new benchmarks for the global manufacturing community, whether it's on productivity, sustainability, agility, speed to market, customization. Just take a look at the figures you see on the right. We have seen factory output increase, going up in some cases to 200%, productivity increases that range from 50 to 150%. And think about, for example, the impact on the environment, sustainability, waste reduction up to 90%, water consumption down by 30%, energy efficiency up by 50%. So these companies are really showing us that you can improve productivity, be more efficient, and also more resilience. And what we know is that during the crisis, they were all better positioned to face the disruptions that the pandemic brought by. Now, I mean, we don't have much time, and I'd love to have space for questions and to interact with our colleagues later on. But you know, if you see how these lighthouses, how and why they were able to navigate the crisis in a better way, and you know, and how they are shaping the future of manufacturing, we can observe four main shifts that we are calling durable shifts. The first one is that they are all enabling agility or new levels of agility and customer centricity. They are redesigning their operations by putting the customer at the center and building, you know, very agile supply networks and facilities that allows them to respond fast to the new needs that are coming from their customer base. They have already, and they continue to further strengthen resiliencies across their supply chains, and that's becoming the main competitive advantage. They are moving away from let's say cost competitiveness into risk competitiveness, and they are doing so through the adoption of technology. Now, what is important is that there is not one single technology that can save you. It's the combination of technologies that allows you to implement new use cases, which is really making the difference today. And when you look at the 54 lighthouses, we have a collection of over 120 very unique use cases that show us what is possible, what is feasible today, and how all those very practical application solutions can help you build more resilience manufacturing and supply networks. And then finally, speed and productivity, and I think what is unique about all the lighthouses is that they are achieving this speed and productivity not only through technology, but also through people. They are all putting people at the center. They are automating whenever it makes sense to automate, especially when we are talking about repetitive, dangerous, dirty tasks. But they are also leveraging technology to augment the workforce, to augment the workers, to increase productivity on the shop floor. They are creating a pooling effect by engaging the workers in the design of the new use cases, and that's creating a huge amount of traction when it comes to accelerating the deployment of those solutions. And then finally, what I believe is a must-have for every company trying to build a resilient supply chain, it's eco-efficiency. We know that the current crisis was brought by a pandemic. Most likely the next one is going to be related to climate change. So today, all these companies are putting eco-efficiency, sustainability as a major driver of resilience and at the center of their risk management plans. I think that what is also exciting is that, you know, there are two main changes that we have observed over the past 7 months. Is that for the very first time, we are seeing the conversation on sustainability led by the chief operating, chief supply chain officers. And why? Because we have all realized that, you know, by adopting digital technologies, you reduce costs, you get more efficient, more productive, but you can also make a huge contribution to the environment. You optimize the way in which you use energy, water, in which you manage your waste, and so on. And then second is that, of course, there's a lot of pressure from our consumer base. So I believe that in the future, is going to be more and more and more important to be sustainable, carbon neutral, play the restorative role if we want to have a compelling value proposition for customers. Now, just to conclude, Dominic and David, let me share a few final thoughts. I think that what is most exciting about the future of manufacturing is that digital technologies are not just transforming operations, but they are opening a new range of opportunities for the creation of new value, for the upgrade and the design of new business models. And that's from where growth is going to come in the years ahead. We have been talking about at the World Economic Forum about the need for a great reset. What is the great reset? Is the opportunity to redesign businesses in a way that they are profitable, but also more inclusive and sustainable for the benefit of worker, society, and the environment. And if you ask me, where is that change going to happen first? I believe that is in manufacturing. Because when you look at what manufacturing companies are doing, when you look at how manufacturing companies are transforming themselves, there's a huge revolution that is taking place already now. And digital technologies are really driving the transformation of operating and business models in parallel. I'm conscious of the time. I let you go through this slide, maybe Dominic, as you wrap up and help us move on to the next dialogue.
Thank you so much, Francisco. Yeah, this is very interesting to hear from the World Economic Forum. There's a positive momentum in the crisis, a momentum that pushes forward collaboration, uptake of technology. We are rearranging the supply chains, making them more resilient, and finally also increasing sustainability. I think that's a great start of our setup here today. It's great input for us. David, do you have any comment, or is there any question that we can take from?
Well, I mean, we're just starting to make a few notes, but I think what it's key, right? I mean, here it's not only about adopting technologies, but it's really about developing by these enabling technologies those new digital capabilities that will allow you to become a resilient company, but also the most important thing, a resilient supply chain. You are as good as a company as your team players, your suppliers, and the rest of the value chain members are. So I think this is one of the highlights that we need to stress. Build digital capabilities, but don't build it individually at your company. Of course, that's important, but build it end-to-end across the value chain so you can really deliver your promise of value, a new promise of value that the market is demanding, which needs to be sustainable and need to be responsible, therefore, from the social point of view, but also for environmental point of view.
Perfect. So Francisco, you're staying with us until the end of the opening session. And so maybe then we have a chance also to wrap up with the following talk. Let me just share the introduction screen. So it's a great honor to have now on the panel Professor Dong Sok Kim from UNIST University, head of the Institute for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and also head of the AI Innovation Park. And he's going to talk about the Korean perspective and the way Korea is dealing with this crisis. So, Dong, are you ready